Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Okay, poddies, how exciting is this? You got 3 for the price of 1 this week. Even though the podcast is free, you still get 3 of us, which I'm very, very excited about. So massive welcome to the lovely Janet Murray. Welcome back on the show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And we've got Lisa Johnson as well. Welcome back.
Hi.
It's like we're going for all of the previous guests. Clearly, I just can't be bothered to find new people. I'm just recycling. I'm joking, obviously. But today, guys, we wanted to have a relatively open and transparent conversation about some of the things that happen in the online space as you're building your business. So we're going to share a couple of the top things that you should be doing in your business. I'm going to share a few of the things that you should be staying away from in your business and having quite an open conversation, because one of the things that I find people always assume when your business gets to a certain level, things change. Maybe you suddenly stop building an audience. Maybe you stop suddenly having to sell all the time. Maybe you stop having to look at new revenue streams in your business. And the reality is that's not true. But actually, a lot of people don't hear the behind the scenes conversations all that often. So today we're bringing that to you. So I'm just going to start with opening the floor, I guess, to you guys in terms of let's go with the biggest trends you've seen from 2019. What do you think 2020 is going to bring us in the online space?
Yeah. Okay.
Lisa's like, I'm going to dive straight into this.
It's harder when there's 3 of us on here. I don't know who's supposed to talk.
Just gives a little wave. You guys won't see it, but you'll hear this awkward silence. We're all
you will. I've seen the biggest sort of switch to be connection based. So whereas a lot of what I was doing, even 2 years ago, was automation. Everything was automated. And quite frankly, it worked when I launched and it was all automated. That doesn't happen anymore. I have to do a lot more relationship building, personal reach outs, and longer relationship building. People want to see me for a longer amount of time. And I think this is a good thing, actually, that these connections are being built, because when there is something that happens, whether it's a recession or, any industry has its little shakes, so those people that have real good relationships with people, they're the ones that survive. And so I think it's forced me to be more that way inclined.
I like that. I mean, Janet, you've got something about this. You talk about me, you moments in your marketing and when people are doing their marketing a lot, that theme of connection and around actually having a degree of emotional attachment to the person you're buying from.
Yeah, totally. And funnily enough, I was a little bit late to this call, wasn't I? Because I was thinking. That was my excuse. That was the best excuse I have. I was thinking. And actually, what I was thinking about is that I've just opened up a couple. I'm doing some content planning workshops, and they're happening about a month from now. So I was thinking about these content planning workshops, and I was thinking about how I was going to promote them. And I thought to myself, well, I could send out an automated email. And I looked at the email, it came back and it was flat. This email was really flat. And then I thought, you know what, I've only got 10 places to fill. I should just reach out to people personally on each of these and just think about the people that I know. But ultimately, it does come down to relationships. You can't just expect to automate everything. And, people want to do business with people. All of that's still true. But I think where people are getting so overwhelmed and they're getting so many emails and so many messages and whatever, the actual personal relationships have never been more important.
It's really strange as well, isn't it? Because I think it is so interesting. You guys are saying about building longer relationships with people. And I've obviously I say just set up the selling to corporates piece, but 6 months ago, or effectively about 8 months ago now, set up that selling to corporates piece. And what I'm seeing is that people are buying in that space a lot quicker. And, they're buying from me. Perhaps they don't know me as well. Perhaps they've only just met me. They're buying a lot quicker. I don't think that's because I'm a magical person, as much as I would love to say my personality is just wonderful. But I don't think it's that's doing it. I think it's because the online space has burnt so many people. Like the online marketing space has burnt people. People have become a lot more wary about what they are prepared to buy, and so they're following people for a lot longer now. So the actual cycle of business is probably extending beyond what we saw maybe 2015, 2016. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, massively agree. I think that it's our own doing why this has happened. I'm seeing a lot at the moment, people like sharing their big wins of being, let's say, in Forbes or getting a Fox TV, segment, all of these different things, or they won this award or this award. And then when you dig a little deeper, they've bought it, basically. And because we're saying things like that, now the industry doesn't, and clients just in general don't know what to believe anymore. So even if you have achieved something amazing and you put it out there, it doesn't do what it used to do because people just assume you've also bought it. You need those connections to be longer. People need to actually believe in you and your integrity and know that you actually have their best interests at heart. Whereas before, everyone just believed everything that was out there, but it can't happen anymore because there's so much dishonesty.
And I think everybody still wants to automate everything though. So I've been doing lots of content because I've grown my Instagram account like really quickly over the last 90 days. And so I've been sharing quite a lot of content about that. And the first question everyone wants to ask me is like, what automation tool do you use? Like, what scheduler do you use? Well, I don't actually schedule it because in order to understand how the content's going down and in order to build those relationships, I kind of have to be there. So I schedule it in terms of knowing what time. Just laughing at Max.
Max has decided to join in. He's like, I'm very interested in Instagram.
He's very interested in Instagram growth. But people, they just want to know, like, can I automate this? Can I basically do this without putting the effort in? And I think it's because everybody's been kind of pushing that automation message for so many years and selling the template or selling the blueprint or whatever it might be.
The swipe copy.
And swipe copy, that everybody wants that kind of quick fix. And that's the first question that comes to mind. Can I automate it? Can I do it without actually doing it or kind of putting the effort in? And for me, that's quite dangerous.
Don't you think that's true of the whole business, the whole industry as a whole, though, that everybody wants everything without doing anything? And again, I think that's our issue as well. I think
this is the thing though, isn't it? I remember when I started in 2015, the whole thing was, can you make 100K in 6 months, right? And everyone was talking about 6 figures in 6 months. Now it's like, if you're not making 6 figures in 6 weeks, there's this huge like stigma. And I'm like, do you know how long it actually takes to build a business? Because it's not about revenue. I think this is the big thing. I say as a sales coach, I focus on money, but it's not about, can I just make more money? That's not how running a business works. You've got to make more money, but you've also got to make more profit. You've got to build a sustainable brand. You've got to actually market so you're consistently visible. Because, and I know, Lisa, I know you suffered from this. People, when you are successful quite quickly, and I know that all of us, were relatively successful relatively early on, the market was different then, but also people used to tie you with this, well, if you're successful really quickly, then your business isn't going to last. And to a certain degree, that is true. If you don't back it up with the branding activities and the marketing activities and building an audience and actually selling regularly and all those kinds of things, then yeah, sure, your business is not going to be a business for very long. But the reality is it doesn't take 5 minutes to build a brand. It doesn't, people always say this about weight loss, don't they? They're like, well, it didn't take you 20 minutes to put on 20 pounds. It's going to take you 20 minutes to lose it. But that's so true of business. I think everyone's out there feeling like a failure.
Yeah, you're right. And it's because they only see when you are visible. They don't see the year of you trying to become visible. Yeah. But when you are visible, then it looks like an overnight success. Of course, it's never an overnight success. We all worked, years to get where we want to be, but that's how people like to view it, and it gives them hope that they can do that too. The problem is, I think it is relatively easy to build a 6-figure business in the first year, but I don't think it's very easy to sustain it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't agree that you can do it all via automation. I mean, Jan, you talk about building your audience online, and to be fair, like, out of anyone I know, you work the hardest at this. I'm definitely incredibly lazy. I hate social media, and I'm very open about that. But you're somebody who has a best-selling book. You've got a whole bunch of people who listen to your podcast every month. You've just increased your Instagram following by a huge amount. You used to have this huge Facebook group with like 13,000 people in it. that wasn't an overnight job, and yet people want to become like this instant, you know, we talk about viral sensations, but actually I don't think viral is something that just happens overnight anymore unless you get it by chance.
Well, I think viral always happens by accident anyway. I don't think you can set out to create something viral. Like, you just can't. Like, viral is just that thing that you create that you probably don't think is going to have that much of an impact, and then for whatever reason you just hit the right people with the right content at the right time. But that's why I hate templates. It's why I don't hate swipe. I give my clients swipe files to help them with like things like outreach to like prospective clients and things, but I do expect them to adapt them. But that's why I hate like social media templates. It's why I hate swipe copy for social media, because you can't create viral content from somebody else's content. Like, it's like your kind of secret sauce. It's the bit that's you, that people really kind of identify with. You know, like Lisa's content is very different to mine is very different to yours, and that's because we've got different personalities, and that's what people connect with. They don't connect with a template or a swipe file that they bought from somebody, but that's what everybody's hoping. It's like, you know, that because that's easier, isn't it? If somebody could just give me like, I had a woman who said to me recently, if you can just tell me what I need to post when, like, that would solve all my problems. Well, I wish I could. Like, I'd be like super rich if I could do that. But you know, you have to go out there, and unfortunately you kind of have to put some content out there and see what happens, and you have to then tweak it and test it and change. But ultimately it's you, isn't it? It's down to you and like your take on the world and how you see things, and you can't bottle that.
I think it's quite damaging. Like, and I give my clients swipe files. Everyone who's taken cash creation, you're listening, you'll know you guys have templates and swipe files for emails and things like that, and they're great and they work. But the thing that I don't get now is, one, there's so much pressure for everybody to do the same thing. Like, everyone's buying these templates and swipe files because, you know, everyone's buying them because they feel so much pressure to get the thing that works. And so I think that completely ties into what you were saying, Janet, about, you know, you've got to do something that works for you. But in a similar vein, by very virtue of something becoming a template, it stops working, because everyone's fighting against this cookie cutter mentality, and yet we're producing things and buying things that give that exact result. And I'm like, you can't rile against something that you're then contributing to, whether it's either consuming it and purchasing it, or whether it's creating it. And sometimes I wonder, like, where does the line fall, but what can we do? You know, what can we do? Because, you know, I had somebody copy my content recently. I was very unhappy about this. And it's very unlike me to create a post that says just how hacked I am at somebody deliberately stealing my stuff and word for word copying it from a transcription. But I was really annoyed. And I was like, we have sent out over 50 cease and desists from the last 3 months of 2019. And to have somebody else do it again and not even care was just this huge kind of revelation to me. And so I put out a post and I said, look, I'm really unhappy. This is the situation that we're getting. So many people copy the content. And some of the people were really like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. And then I got some messages from people like, oh, well, it's just flattery though, isn't it really? Like, no, it's not. It's not flattery. It's plagiarism. And that really bothers me. And so in the same way, when we're all contributing to swipe files and templates and things, like, when does it become plagiarism? When is that content actually yours and when is it not? You know, I think there's a massive difference between IP, which is your content, and taking inspiration about what somebody has said to you. But I think the biggest thing you can do, like, you know, I have different coaches all the time. You've been one of my coaches. If you've taught me something, I may do a live about what I've learned. But the difference is, I will say, Jessica Laura said to me in a coaching session we had this, and then I'll tell it. If I was to just say it and pass it off as my own, that's where it gets murky and it gets dirty and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a real tough one. And I think the problem is there is no new content. There are no new ideas there whatsoever. Like, there's probably nothing that any of us could say that would be new. There's no opinion we could ever share that would be new. But I think that when we're creating our own content, like, we can't help but put our own unique take or spin on it. But like you, Lisa, I'm always very conscious of, like, if I'm talking about something that I've learned of somebody, and I learned of this person, and you should go and read their book, or you should go and listen to their podcast. But I don't think quite everybody shows quite the same integrity when it comes to sharing. I mean, I don't see that. I see that as adding value to your audience. If you're saying, well, actually, you should really check this person out because they've got a great podcast or a book, or they shared this really great idea with me, that's only adding value to your audience. But I guess people don't share when they feel threatened. So if they feel scared that if they say, oh, Jessica Lorimer's got a book, or, you know, Lisa's got some really good content on this, that somehow they're going to lose all their clients. It's quite a kind of scarcity mentality.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen that way, actually. The more I talk about other people's content and how they've helped me, the more people come to me, because they know that I am sharing other people's stuff. And that can only be a good thing, you know, that collaboration.
Well, the thing is, we're all learning all of the time. You would expect people who are investing in themselves to be able to contribute more to your business and your process. So if you're hiring somebody who you know works with other people regularly, develops their skills regularly, is trying to be like that expert in their field, then you're actually getting more value. Every time you're coaching with those people, you're getting more value because you're having the benefit of their experience and what they've learned and things like that. I think, Jan, you make a really good point there about it being a fear thing. I think people are so worried that they might not get clients. And like we talked about earlier, because there is this longer client cycle now, actually people are worried if they're trying to get their first client or their fifth client or something like that. They're like, well, if I go and recommend someone else's content and they go and buy from that person, then I'm losing the sale. But actually then we should be encouraging people to sell more often, you know, and actually have better, transparent sales conversations and posts and things. I mean, I know you guys have both had this. My audience tend not to do it. So actually, thank you, Poddies. If you're listening to this, I've never had an email from someone listening to the podcast that's been like, you shouldn't sell on the podcast. And if I did, I would just be like, cool, don't listen anymore. So maybe that's why. But I know that you guys have had people who've been like, oh, you know, I really like free content, but I don't like it when you sell to me. So can you stop doing that, please? And I think that's so bizarre. I mean, I go to Tesco, like I walk down the supermarket aisles, and how dare they put other products that I might want at the end of the aisle? Like, I did not ask for that. Do not try and sell it to me. Don't put it on special offer. I don't get it. Like, I don't get why people don't love being sold to transparently, because surely that overcomes the fears that they have about being sold to in a sleazy way. Like, at least someone's telling you they're doing it.
I think there's a sense of entitlement right now. Like, I have been given freebies all this time, so now I demand them, and I don't want to give you anything for them, including my email address, which is the only reason, if we're all honest about it, that we're putting stuff out there, so that we can grow a list of people that might like what we do and see that we're good at what we do. And yeah, I've had people say to me, I would like your freebie, but I don't want to give you my email address. Can you just send it to me? And I've replied and said, well, why should I? Do you want to pay for it?
I love that response. Why should I? Would you like to pay for this instead? That's brilliant.
I always say to people that you're you know, that's fine. If you don't want me to sell to you, then that's fine. But just remember that the people who do buy from me, they are subsidizing this podcast that you find so useful, these blog posts, these free guides that you find so useful. Somebody is paying for them, and it's not you. So if you object to me emailing you every now and again and telling you about, you know, some way that you can kind of extend your learning, then I don't think we're a good fit.
Such a better tactful way of saying things.
But the thing is, though, you wouldn't, like, if I went to my GP, let's say I had a cold, right? And I went to my GP and they noticed that actually I had a chest infection or something far more serious, I would be really upset if they didn't mention that to me. I'd be a bit, you know, I'd definitely make a complaint a few weeks later when I was super ill. But people don't want people to tell them about ways they could extend their learning. And that's what I don't understand, because my audience, they don't do it. Like, one of the caveats we have when you sign up for my email list is, I'm going to sell to you sometimes. If you don't like it, that's cool, don't sign up. Like, and that's fine. And I'm not worried about that at all. But I don't understand, you know, why you wouldn't want to know about interesting things that could help you further. Like, I don't understand that, because I think in the online space, we're so often saying, you know, we're growing all the time. We want to do more. We want to learn more. We want to be experts. And I'm like, then it's okay not to invest in every opportunity. I don't recommend you do that at all. But also, you should always want to know what's available for you when you are ready. So it doesn't hurt to read sales emails and take inspiration for your next launch. It doesn't hurt to read them and take the value, because most people write sales emails that give value anyway. Like, it doesn't hurt to use them as a learning experience rather than getting like quite defensive and being like, oh my God, I can't believe you're selling to me. How dare you? You know, actually look for the learning outcome there. What can you gain from that?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I remember right at the beginning when I couldn't afford to invest in anything, every single email I got, I saved it and put it into it. Did this email make me feel good or not?
Yeah.
So that I knew in future when I was writing to people how I wanted to be sold to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I've noticed that there's a very definite link between people who object to being sold to and people who aren't making very much money. Usually when you go and have a look at what's going on, and I have said to people on occasion, look, you know, there was one lady actually, she came to my live event 2020 Sorted, and she emailed me like straight afterwards when we were doing our campaign for 2021 Sorted, and she said like in the few days afterwards, and she said, do you know what, Janet, like I'm just so fed up because every email that I've had from you since the event is about the next event. And that's not actually true, to be fair, because that isn't actually true. And there was a lot of like helpful content that went out in the Facebook group. But that aside, I kind of said to her, look, you know, you're a businesswoman and I'm a businesswoman, you run a business. And like, in order to secure the next, everyone had such a great time, they had such a great experience and they learned so much. But in order to secure the next event, like I have to put a deposit on the venue and I have to like book speakers, and there's certain expenses that have to be paid for. So in order to enable everybody to have that really great experience and come together again next year, I need to sell this event. I need to sell the event for them. Like, you know, everyone had a great time. They want to come back together next year. They want to be together and they want to have this experience, but that has to be paid for. And I just can't even, I don't know, I have no problem like doing any of that, because you know, that's I'm creating that experience for people. And you know,
should you look, we don't think of this in the same way. For some reason we've decided that digital stuff and automation is different from offline and going to a shop. You never ever think, well, I'm going into the shop and I want to get something for free, please. Like I want you to try and sell me anything else in the shop. It would just never happen. And I think it's our fault, because I think we've trained. I think you've done really well not to, Jessica. People have trained an audience of freebie hunters.
But I talk about this a lot, and like I talk about it being baby bird syndrome. You train people not to buy because we're so desperate to make them know, like, and trust us. So you give them free content, and then when you ask them to buy, they freak out and they're like, oh my God, we're being pushed out of the nest, and they get very upset about that. What I don't necessarily get, and you just made a really good point, is why the digital world is different from offline. Because I went to my hairdresser this morning. You listeners can't see it, but my hairdresser has cut my fringe very, very fringy. Like, it's quite short at the moment. Give it a week, it'll be perfect. But right now I'm feeling very fringy and exposed. And anyway, I have my hair cut. I've been going to the same woman for 3.5 years now, I think. And every time I have one appointment, I book the next one. And I make the assumption that I will just book it every 6 weeks or however long it is, because otherwise I might not get a space. And I don't mind that. I don't begrudge that. I know that in 6 weeks' time, I'm going to spend another 60 quid or whatever. And it's fine. But in the online space, we seem to have developed this culture where it's not okay to sell transparently because it might upset somebody. But it's also not okay to sell in a veiled way, which I completely agree with. But then what are we saying to people? We should have businesses, but none of those businesses are allowed to make money, right? You must all make money by virtue of osmosis. Like, and that's, that's what I don't get. Like, I love my clients. I love my audience. I have the best time. I get all these emails, like we get responses to the podcast. Like, it's really, really cool. And I love it. But also there's this expectation that my bank manager needs me to pay my mortgage and like other things that are associated with it. And I don't understand why people are ashamed. Maybe that's a female, maybe culture thing around money, around talking about money.
I think it is that. And also, you would be a very bad coach if you weren't teaching your audience that it's okay to sell by doing those things, by upselling, by promoting your stuff. If you're not showing them how to do it, then they're not going to do it either, because they're going to think it's wrong as well. So actually we have to sell and we have to feel okay about it. But I think that your point of we have a problem around money, I've seen that a lot. I think there's a real problem in the industry with even talking about money. I mean, you've seen the stick I get. I can put a post on about money. Along with that stick, obviously, comes people that like that and that see what's possible for them. But yeah, there's definitely an issue there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I think that point you made earlier, actually, about, for me, it's just a no-brainer. Like, I used to do exactly the same. I still do, Lisa. I save emails, like, because I want to learn from them. I want to see how other people are selling. I want to see things that are good. I've actually just been inspired, like an email that I saw from somebody that I follow, and I thought, that's a really nice idea. I'm going to try something like that. You know, I just look at it as an opportunity. When I see people selling well, I'm just like, brilliant. Like, what can I learn from that? And I think there's something quite worrying, I think, that if people want to do business online, and they're looking to people like you and me, you know, and Jess to learn from, but at the same time they're repelled by that. It's kind of like, well, you're looking to learn from these people, and we're kind of showing you, like, yes, the best time to sell an event is when you have people in the room at your event, but when they're excited about it. Like, we're showing people that these things work, you know. And like I said to this lady who complained about, well, you know, I've just sold like 75% of the tickets, so, you know, like, clearly this stuff works. So instead of maybe criticizing it, maybe it's good to look at it and to be inspired by it. But I find that fascinating, that people are kind of, they want to learn. When you ask everybody what's their biggest problem, I want to make more sales, I want to make more sales, I want to make more money. But then when they see you out there doing it, they can get very uncomfortable. Yeah, and I find it, like, psychology-wise, I just find it really fascinating, because I'm just like looking at people going, wow, that's a good idea. Oh, that's really clever how they've done that. Like, oh God, you know, I've just got so much admiration for people, and I'm so inspired. And I just think there's that mindset shift, isn't there, that you've just got to make.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
I think that's interesting though, because just to bring it back to that fear thing that we were talking about earlier, there's a difference, and I want to pose the question, because I know that some people will be going, well, it's all right for you guys to share other people's content and talk about other people because you're already making money. But was this always the way when you weren't necessarily making money? Did you always feel like, well, of course I want to share that stuff, or of course I'm inspired by those sales posts or things like that? Because I know that when I came into this world, I had 3 months where I did really badly. I just, let's be very clear here. I was just lazy. I'd come out of corporate. I couldn't be bothered to get up at 7 a.m. every day and actually do the work that I needed to do. I just kind of sat around and I did the busy work. I was updating my website, which was shit. I was writing copy, and I was doing all these jobs that weren't revenue generating activities. And I had a really rough 3 months. At no point did I look at other people's sales posts and be like, oh my God, it's so unfair, or it's easy for them, or, you know, justify in my head. I looked at my business and went, okay, what can I do differently? And my mum, you know, she had this conversation with me where she was like, I don't understand. Like, you keep telling me all these people out there making money and that you're not. She's like, what's so special about you? Like, what's so special about you that you can't do it? And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like, if even my own mother is saying this, like, I need to take a serious look at what I'm actually doing and be productive. So I don't know, what did you guys think? Were you always inspired by sales, or did you ever feel like, ugh, I feel a bit resentful or a bit gross about it?
At the beginning, I did feel resentful. So what I used to do is, if I saw anybody talk about money, this is why I now talk about money, because when I saw people talk about money, it triggered me because I wasn't making money. Mm-hmm. And then very quickly, and I'm talking within the first month, I realized that if I was triggered, it's because I wanted to be there, not because I didn't like that person. It's because I wanted to be them. And so as soon as I realized that, it changed everything for me, because every time I felt any twinge, I'd go, there's the signal. That's what I want. And I worked towards that. And that's why I now do the same thing. I put stuff out there knowing it will trigger people, but hoping that it will trigger the right reaction, and that eventually they'll think, actually, that is what I want. Why am I fighting against it?
Yeah, I don't think I was ever grossed out by people talking about money. I think I was always quite curious. But even now, I still feel there's certain things that people do that make me feel a bit icky. And the cold outreach, I still like, if someone gets in touch with me and says completely out of the blue, like, can I help you with this thing? And I don't know them. I don't understand the reason why they're reaching out to me. I don't have a relationship with them. I really don't like it. And that makes me feel a bit, ugh. So I can kind of understand, where people are coming from, but, you know, I'm never reaching out to people that, you know, I'm always reaching out to people who have engaged with me. So they've signed up to my email list. They've listened to my podcast. They've engage with me on social media or whatever. I don't think I'm ever just reaching out to people like randomly. But I still feel a bit, if somebody, I was mentioning to you, Jess, wasn't it? Somebody who reached out to me and invited me to join their coaching program. In fact, 2 people have invited me. And they'd made assumptions about me. They'd made assumptions about how much money I was making or not making. And they just reached out to me without any prior conversation. And I just was like, no, thank you. I'm just not interested.
To make you feel better about that, I've had 3 people contact me this week with a group about losing weight.
No, that's so gross.
I have not joined.
No, but do you know what? I recently had somebody who said to me, oh, Jess, you've lost all this weight. And it's so funny because I actually thought you were pregnant. And I was like, awkward. Like, you know, when you're like, no, I'm just fat.
It was the food, baby.
I've just eaten too many biscuits, but now I'm good, thanks.
Oh no, that's horrible. I did have a lady, I've had a few things on LinkedIn actually, my very first LinkedIn Live. And I mean, this is an interesting thing about sales, because this is what I always say to my clients, is that you can't sell something to somebody unless they think they've got that problem. So if somebody is like, what's that film where that lady, like she's quite overweight and then something happens to her. Is
it Shallow Hal?
I can't remember. She falls over in spin class or something, and then she suddenly like looks in the mirror, and then she thinks she's really slim or something. But it's kind of like that, unless somebody thinks they've got the problem. So like somebody could be like stones and stones overweight, but if they're really happy with that, and somebody comes along and says you need to lose weight, you know, that you've got to feel like you want to solve that problem, haven't you? Yeah. So I don't think I'm like bad on video. Like maybe I'm awful on video. I don't know, but I think I'm all right. I think it's not something there's other things that I've recognized that I need help with, but it's not something that I've actively thought, you know what, I really need a video coach. But the first time I did a LinkedIn Live, this lady reached out to me while I was live and said, yeah, you're quite nice on video. You look nice, but I really think there's some problems with your presentation, and I think I could help you. And you know, that is like reaching out and offering somebody a weight loss program.
That's so cringe.
I also had someone that I was in a coaching program with, who's a video person, who kind of reached out and said the same thing. And the thing is, like, I mean, I might be the worst person in the world on video. I might be awful. I don't think I am. I think I'm all right. You know, it's not a priority to me right now.
We'll boost your ego. Like, you're really great.
But I think I'm all right. But there's other things. If somebody reached out to me and said, oh, I can help, I'll be like, well, yeah, actually, I realised that is something. And I think deep down, most of us know, don't we know if we need help? Most of us know when we need help with something. And so if that approach comes in the right way, or we've expressed that to somebody, haven't we? We've kind of said, oh, you know, I really need to grow my Instagram, or I really need help with this, and we will say it. And I think that's a problem, isn't it? Reaching out to that. That's the only time when I feel sales is kind of sleazy, is if someone's reaching out and they don't, you've never expressed an interest, there's been no prior conversation.
And also it's about how you reach out. I mean, if you reach out while someone's live on video to be like, oh, by the way, I think you suck. Like, really, come on, guys, like, pick your moments. But also, I think there's a way of doing it. You have to actually educate people that they have the problem. So reaching out and being like, hey, like, really love the content in your video, just wondering if you're somebody who's naturally comfortable on camera, is a much better way of opening the conversation. If that person then goes, oh my God, I hate being on camera, you can then go, oh, you know, I noticed that your body language was a bit like stiff or whatever. But reaching out and being like, oh, by the way, did you know you have this problem? It's kind of the equivalent of walking up to somebody in the street and being like, by the way, did you know that you have a face like a bag of spanners? Like, that's just not like, what you do. You shouldn't do that. Yeah, that's just rude and offensive. It's not sales, it's just grim. Like,
there are definitely sleazy ways, aren't there, at the moment? So at the moment, I'm getting a lot of these in my Facebook Messenger, and it starts with a wave. Who's got the yellow wave? And as soon as I see the yellow wave, my heart falls, because I know what's coming. And so every now and again, just for fun, I shall wave back and see what happens. And I'll say to whoever's with me at the time, I give it 5 sentences before they sell to me. And I'm always right. How are you doing today? I see that You coach people. Would you like to get to 5-figure month? I swear then at that point.
I just always laugh because I feel really bad for people. Like, I don't think people are that ill-intentioned that they anticipate just how irritating it is. Because
do you think it works?
Well, I don't know what the hit rate is on it. I kind of liken it to Tinder. And Lisa, you just did a post about this, right? But on Tinder, I noticed when I was back on Plenty of Fish in the day that a lot of men would just take it upon themselves, like 7 a.m. in the morning when I was like commuting to work, whatever, to just send me a picture of their penis. And I'd be like, and I was having this conversation with my friends the other day, and I was like, I don't know what the hit rate is on that, but I can tell you that at 7 a.m. in the morning when I'm on a train with my coffee, probably the first thing that I want to see is not a picture of your one-eyed monster. Like, and I don't know what the hit rate is on it. And I asked somebody once, I like messaged this guy back, and I was like, out of interest, like, what's your conversion rate? How many of these do you have to send out before a woman goes back to you and is like, oh my God, you have the prettiest penis I've ever seen. Like, please let me touch it. I sound so disgusted. But it's true, isn't it? And these messages that people send out online, I'm like, you know, I kind of feel the same way. Like, if it's not a kind of 5 in 10 hit rate, I don't know that I would do it. I just think there are other ways that are easier to sell. You know, and that is to be transparent. I don't message people and ask about, oh, you have a dog, I have a dog, or whatever, because I don't really care. Like, I care about their problem. I care about what they want to solve. But I don't, you know, if you've got a Westie, great. Like, that's awesome. I love dogs. But that's not why we're having the conversation.
Yeah. And I'm irritated just generally with small talk. I've never been good at it. And so when I have people come into my inbox and ask me, somebody I've never met, either how my day has been, how business is, or is it sunny there, my immediate thing is irritate. My immediate thing is not to go, I'm going to have a little chat with this person. Who's this person? Let's have a little chat. It isn't. It's how can I block her quick enough, or him?
Yeah. Also, I live in the UK. It's never sunny.
Like, yeah,
that's your answer. Pick a better question.
But they don't check that, do they? They don't even check where you live or how much you're earning or anything about you. They just go straight in. Yeah.
It's a weird one. I mean, I think the thing is, there are so many things online at the moment that irritate people, and people listening, like, you guys must see you probably see different things than us. I mean, like I say, I see relatively little of it now, and I don't know whether that's just because I've got some reputation as somebody who will just be like, cool, bye, like, I'm just not engaging with this. But I also feel really not responsible, but I think that perhaps there should be better ways of explaining what people actually need to do to build a business, you know, because what we're seeing, we kind of see two extremes. Either we see the people who it takes a lot of time for them to make money and they find it really difficult to get clients, or we see the people who end up like burnt out and overwhelmed. They've got loads of clients, they're working one-to-one, but they're working for very little money. And I think, you know, a tip from each of you on like what's the biggest thing that people could do differently to build a better business would be really helpful.
For me, the biggest thing, like, yes, you've got to build your audience, and yes, you've got to give value, and we're told constantly give value. Just give value strategically. So in a way that's going to lead that value to selling something. I see so many people giving value for a year, like really good stuff for a year, but with no actual intention of what's going to come after it. And if you don't have that, what are you doing it for? What's the point? You can give value and everyone will applaud you and say you're amazing, but you'll still be broke.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And I learned the hard way, because I gave stuff away for ages for free, because I was kind of transitioning from journalism. I was kind of doing it as a bit of a side hustle. I blogged for years, giving away all this free stuff without really thinking about what people were going to buy at the end of it. So that's why it's so important that people invest, because I think, well, if somebody comes to invest with me or you, Jess, or Lisa, like, we'll tell them that straight away. Like, you know, if you're creating a lead magnet, make sure it links to something you're going to sell at the end. Like, make sure that you're selling every day. Make sure, by all means, have a blog or a podcast, or by all means give away like free Facebook lives or whatever, but make sure that you're always selling, and that every piece of content you create has some kind of sales intention behind it. Because I blooming wish someone had told me that, and I wish that I'd invested in the right kind of coaching and help earlier, because it would have saved me a lot of time and it would have helped me to make more money for my business quicker. had I just known that. And I think everybody wants to do everything for free and they don't want to invest, but actually it can save you an awful lot of time.
Oh yeah, I mean, I spent over £8,000 in my first year on coaching courses, like self-study ones that, let's face it, I never got past week 6 in any of them. Like I literally never completed them. And I used to do it because I'd be like, well, it's cheaper to do it this way. And then eventually I ended up paying out for coaches anyway. And I thought, well, now I've spent the money twice. And effectively I've spent half of the money on stuff that I didn't actually get anything from. That was probably great, great content, great courses, but I just didn't get anything from it. I mean, in terms of my top tip for you guys, it's not even about strategy. I think people need to build a lot more resilience. If you're going to build a business, you need to be really resilient. And, it's not about let's have a mindset kind of woo session about affirmations and mantras and whatever. It's, you're building a business, and at some point you've got to separate the personal from the professional. Like your self-worth is not determined by how much you earn, for sure. But you've got to be resilient enough as a business owner to accept that you're going to need to do a lot of things you don't want to do. You're going to need to do proactive outreach, and it might not be the most comfortable thing for you. You're going to need to occasionally work late nights and early mornings, especially when you're first starting out. And, you don't necessarily get to have the lifestyle right at the beginning that you want, but you're building towards that. You're going to have to accept that people are going to tell you things that you don't like, and you're going to have to accept that sometimes they do that publicly. I think often we talk about building business and everybody focuses on like, okay, here are the practical how-tos, but actually you've got to develop your character as well. You've got to be somebody who is resilient, who is happy to deal with different situations and ultimately walk out the other side. There's no, I'm going to build this business, but it's the first time that somebody tells me my content sucks, I'm going to, go and cry. Like, fine, fair enough, do it. I have definitely done it, but you also have to get back up afterwards.
Yeah,
totally. And I think that, I think people just don't underestimate just the sheer value of just showing up regularly.
Yeah.
I've just been doing a trial for my my sort of signature program, Build Your Online Audience. And I've had like 100 people in this month doing a trial. And like, as you get towards the end, you see those emails that come in and they say things like, oh, well, I'm not going to go ahead because I haven't been using it. And I'm always saying all the time, like, the value that you get out of, say, for example, educational training or whatever, isn't about how many classes you watch or how many resources you use or whatever. You could get a massive return on investment by one conversation that you have or one like call that you turn up to and something just kind of like moves for you. And so you're going to give it up. It's a bit like joining the gym, isn't it? And deciding that you're going to leave the gym because you didn't use every piece of equipment. You didn't go to every class. It's just mad, isn't it? Mm. And if you just kind of stuck at what you were doing and just carried on showing up every day, like just taking a tiny bit of action every day and just showing up is going to add up to a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Over the course of a year.
But people aren't consistent, are they? They get bored very easily. So someone will start. I think pretty much when we talk about strategy, there's no magic pill here. Whatever strategy you decide to use, whether you're going to go live on Facebook forever or whether you're going to do Instagram or you're going to build a list or whatever, if you do it consistently, it will work, whichever one it is. It doesn't matter which. It's not like one thing works better than another. It's just the consistency. But people get bored after like 2 or 3 months if something's not working and then go on to something else.
It's so frustrating though, because people do often ask, they're like, oh, what do you credit your success to? And I'm like, well, in all honesty, doing the boring things day after day, like that is it. There's no, like you've said, there's no magic pill. And I find that that's the most frustrating thing, is that people jump from idea to idea and platform to platform because they're hoping that they'll find the one that they just imagine it magically works. Now we've got everyone talking about TikTok, and then fine, like I don't know how TikTok is going to go, but I'm going to guess that it's going to be very like Snapchat. It'll be around for maybe like a year and then everyone's going to stop using it. That's my prediction, guys. If I'm wrong, write me back in a year, tell me, like it's all good. But it's that kind of thing, isn't it? It's really frustrating. Actually, I saw somebody put a post about it today. They were like, oh, congratulations to the people who are showing up day after day. Like in a year, we'll see how that pays off. And that's the thing. And it's like, it does take that time. It doesn't mean you won't get clients in that time. Doesn't mean that you won't make good money in that time. But to build an actual business, you do have to show up and you do have to be consistent, however that looks for you, and that's the thing.
And also, I think not expecting to go at the same pace as everybody else. Like we're all different. We've all got different things going on in our lives. Like some people, like, like Lisa, I think you're like a really, really talented person with loads of great experience and loads of skills and whatever. And you've got loads of like qualities that just make you like ace stuff. Somebody else, it might just take them a little bit longer, and they might be looking at you and thinking, well, why can't I be like Lisa? Well, it just might take them a little bit longer because of their circumstances or because of what's going on in their life. And I've just got a client who posted in my group today, and she's been in my membership group for like 3 years, and she's a women's tailor, and she's just landed this like amazing client in the Middle East, and she's like really excited about it. And she was saying like, all this work I've done on my website, like this lead came through my website, and I've just worked really hard on like getting really good leads through my website, and this is paid off, like the stuff that I'm doing. And okay, I'm not moving as quickly as everybody else, but I am getting what I want. I am getting there. And I think that's the other thing. People just look and they want everything to happen at the same pace as everybody else. And actually that can't always happen, but it doesn't mean that you're not getting better. It doesn't mean that you're moving forward.
But also, I think if people saw behind the scenes of that, people think that, you know, I do ace things and I go quick and I seem to get results really quickly. But that's because I work quite a lot harder than
exactly.
If I'm honest. You know, I will, if I need to do stuff at midnight, I'm going to do it because I have a goal and I'm going to get there no matter what it takes. Whereas I think some people want the lifestyle I've got without the work that I had to do to get it.
Exactly.
That's the interesting thing though. People, you know, like, and we've all talked about this like lifestyle and brought it up, but like people said they want the lifestyle, but what they don't see is the midnight working and stuff. Like Janet, you and I have been out for dinner like how many times, and it's been, you know, 9 o'clock at night, whatever. We've both had a few beers / Prosecco / whatever alcoholic is going. And we'll have both sat there and been like, oh, maybe something's gone wrong with the website, or maybe something's happened to this, or maybe a team member has emailed and said, and we're not necessarily just sat there ignoring it. Like everybody, you know, all three of us are really good at work-life balance, but when something needs to happen, it happens. And I think that's what people perhaps don't see, is that actually the more successful you get, the bigger the problems are and the more frequently sometimes they come up. And so actually you do spend time firefighting. It's not just that your business makes a certain amount of money and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm just not going to get up before 9 on a weekday and I'm, you know, going to do all this kind of cool stuff. And yet that's what people seem to think, that a lot of our lives are like, oh, well, we're just working coffee shops or we're taking endless holidays or like doing all this stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe you didn't see the 1 a.m. finish that this person had to actually create content for a masterclass that I hadn't recorded. Or, you know, like last month I forgot to hit record on 2 podcast episodes. I was so hacked off with myself. You'd have thought I'd learn after 1, but no, 2. You know, and I had to re-record them at a weekend, and people are like, oh, but you know, I don't think, you know, it gets to that point. I'm like, yeah, it does. You're always going to have that. You're a business owner. That's how it works. And
they are looking at what lifestyle you have and thinking that they want it. But if we took real photographs on Instagram of the, you know, when you get bullied online and you're crying in a corner, or when loads of things are going wrong, or you're going to have to sack somebody that you really like, but they're just not doing the job properly. If we took pictures of that, would they want their lives?
Yeah, it's a lot of difficult conversations.
Definitely. And I would really agree with Lisa about how, like, most people, despite how it seems on the surface, are generally that they're working harder, and not necessarily longer hours, but maybe, you know, in some cases, yes, but they're working harder and they're just kind of more consistent. And it all comes back to that same thing. Is it's like, you know, over Christmas, I had some time off over Christmas, but, you know, my team were off. So who had to check the emails, and who had to check when the website broke? Who had to contact the IT guy and stuff? You know, like somebody has to do all of that, and you can't have it both ways. You can't, you know, be running a successful business and they say, oh, well, do you know what, the shop isn't working on the website, but I'm just kind of going to leave it because it's Boxing Day. You can't, my mum come in and found me, like, you know, on my laptop hunched over in the spare room on Boxing Day because something needed fixing. You know, that's the reality of it, isn't it? And
I sometimes launch when I'm on holiday. I don't know how many people would like to do that. In reality, it means going away from the beach and your family and sitting there in a laptop and launching.
But that's the thing, though. It's about choices. And I think that's what people don't realise. You know, Lisa, you've just said then, you choose sometimes to launch on holiday. Jan chooses to look at her laptop on Boxing Day. Like, I choose to do things when I'm naturally, like, better at working. So for me, a lot of my content is created in the morning because I just don't function that well in the afternoons. And that's cool. But I think you have to make those choices and be okay with the fact that when you say yes to one thing, you say no to something else. So if you say yes to having weekends off, it means you need to get your work done in the week. Like if you say no to being reactive on social media, like me, then it means you have to batch your content so that you are consistent, like and out there. I think that's what we have to understand. It's not a case of them being mutually exclusive. It's like for one choice you say yes, for something else you say no, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I would agree with Lisa as well about this, you know, the behind the scenes stuff is, you know, there's sometimes some nasty stuff, you know, people send nasty messages. They you know, can be quite unpleasant behind the scenes, and that all has to be dealt with as well. It's not all as lovely and shiny as it might look on the surface.
For every lovely email that you receive, there will be a troll, and you have to deal with that. And there's a lot of people that couldn't deal with that, and so they wouldn't have my lifestyle.
That is where it is. I mean, I think the reality of online business is sometimes quite different from what we all see. And I think the important thing here, guys, to look at is how this world is shifting and how you can adapt yourself, your business, to overcome some of the things that we're seeing. You know, if you're somebody who doesn't like seeing hate mail, I'm one of those people. I just get my team to read it and delete it. I don't even care. I'm just like, don't bring my day down. I'm good. And so I don't know, maybe I do get lots of people sending me hate mail. If you're one of those people, probably don't send me anymore because I don't see it, so it's pointless. Like send it to me by carrier pigeon or something. You know, it's that kind of thing. You have to adapt your business to how you want it to be, and it's not always going to be perfect,
and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. I know everybody else is going to appreciate it too. Where can people find you, and what are you up to at the moment that people can potentially get involved in with should they wish?
Who's going to go first?
Get it? Transparent sales pitch warning.
I was doing the waving thing. I didn't know who was supposed to start. Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, so best place to find me is at my website, janetmurray.co.uk. But Instagram, if you want to send me a message, Jan Murray UK, that is the place.
And it is beautiful. Like your Instagram. I say this to my team every month now that we're actually putting stuff on Instagram. I'm like, why isn't our feed like Janet's?
I say that every day. Why isn't my feed like Janet's? Yeah. Why aren't you doing your job?
Yeah, just look at it and I'm like drooling slightly. So if you haven't looked at Janet on Instagram, please do, because it is genuinely a thing of beauty.
If you want to get in touch with me, the best way to do it is on my free Facebook group, which is called The Fabulous 5%. And I'm usually hanging out in there daily.
I love it. I love it. So many alliterative words. I'm just like, oh, it makes me so happy. Everyone knows that I'm very OCD about that. There you go, guys. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do tag Janet, Lisa, and myself over on Instagram. Let us know what your key takeaway was, what you really took away from it. And if you think that you've had some insights into what real life conversations look like behind the scenes around online business, do let us know, because, you know, one of the things that we try and do when we're recording podcasts or creating content is to broaden that conversation with you. So if you're not participating in frank discussions around business and you want to, start having conversations with real people about real things, and don't take so much surface level. So do let us know what you got from today's episode, and I will see you next week with something else that will be really cool. We've got some good stuff planned for the month of March coming up, so I'll see you in the next episode.